What if we enter Uttarakhand? What if we enter India's many tri-junctions? Dialogue with India impossible. A day after China issued a vicious video warning to India over the Doklam military standoff. The government in Beijing has cut even more to the bone. As China's Doordarshan broadcast these fresh images of Chinese military drills aimed specifically at India. Its government has issued the most provocative threat so far. What if we enter Kalapani tri-junction? Pull back your troops or pay the price. The very latest in China's non-stop campaign of threat, belligerence and intimidation is our top focus on 5 Live.
Like we showed you at the start of this show, China, in its uninterrupted campaign of intimidation and warmongering, just as the India-China standoff just north of Sikkim closes in on its 2-month anniversary. Well, they've taken things to a new low, or a new high if you want to call it that. China has basically threatened India with an invasion in Uttarakhand, if you can believe it. And this isn't just through the media or social media. This is the Chinese government. Take a look.
China's most provocative threat to India so far. Rubbishing all possibility of dialogue, China has openly threatened to send its troops into Uttarakhand and Kashmir, specifically invoking the Kalapani area under dispute between India and Nepal. Earlier speaking through state-owned media, the Chinese government is now bearing its official fangs. A senior official in the Chinese Foreign Ministry, Wang Wenli, has made it clear that the price of India's resilience at Doklam will be a Chinese border intrusion in another area. In a sign that there is nothing but war on China's mind, the official, sanctioned to speak by Beijing's highest authorities, has dared to specifically name a tri-junction as a possible target for the next standoff between the two countries. China's non-stop campaign of threat also includes fresh military exercises by the Chinese Army's serious commandos. As India fortifies with a calm demeanor of unshakability, China has made it clear that its belligerence knows no bounds. Bureau Report, India Today.
So basically you've got an India-China standoff, and I'm going to show you a map in a second from now, in the Sikkim area. That's where the standoff has been going on for the last 60 odd days. And now China has basically said, what if we do what we accuse you of doing in another part of the India-China tri-junction? This is near the Nepal border with Uttarakhand. Take a look at this map. Remember that right here, down there north of Sikkim, is where the Doklam standoff is taking place. And now China is saying hundreds of miles away, what if we escalate tensions in that particular area? Just west of Nepal, the tri-junction called the Kalapani area is where China now threatens to actually intrude into India's sovereign territory in Uttarakhand. I want to go across now to India Today's executive editor Gaurav Sawant. Gaurav, we've seen the mind games get more and more explicit. The psychological warfare that's been played out through China's state-owned media. Literally every day something new that's been coming out from there. Now it's a foreign ministry official, Gaurav, using very belligerent language, saying, what if we use the same excuse to invade your tri-junctions? What if we send those troops? We're talking about Kashmir, we're talking about Kalapani and the Uttarakhand, which is our territory, Gaurav. So these, at one level, media reports can be understood, if not, ignored. But this is from a foreign ministry official, Gaurav.
Shiv, China is using every trick in the trade. from their foreign office to their soldiers to their media. They were also, very belligerent, threatening India, coaxing, coercing, cajoling India to pull back from the Doklam standoff. India so far, very measured response. The only statement coming from the Minister for External Affairs, Sushma Swaraj, saying pullback should be simultaneous and any forward movement is only through dialogue. Now, when China threatens India in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, China is well aware it already occupies a part of India in Aksai Chin. That's Chinese-occupied Kashmir. Then again, it's the $52 billion China-Pakistan economic corridor which passes through Indian territory of Gilgit and Baltistan. So China already is there. Is China threatening to open more fronts, new frontiers of conflict? Well, when you talk of Kalapani, Kalapani is actually an issue, is an area where India and China have already talked about increasing trade relations through Kalapani, through Lipu Lake. And that is something that Nepal was saying that, instead of a bilateral agreement, you should have at least consulted us and made it into a trilateral agreement. And two, why it's different is Shiv. China was the aggressor in Bhutan. India went to Bhutan's defense. India is never an aggressor anywhere, including in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Then again, from what sources in the government say, Shiv, discount what China says in public, focus on what China says in private, and that is where some quiet diplomacy is happening.
Absolutely. Quiet diplomacy is happening, but all of the Chinese state-owned media have been saying India is playing a double game, talking about diplomacy, yet not pulling back the troops. So China has clearly painted itself into a corner. Take a look at this map on your screen, ladies and gentlemen. Kalapani, the tri-junction, India, Nepal and Tibet. That is where China now threatens to create another military standoff. This is a country, two Asian neighbors, one pretty much playing it safe, calling for diplomacy, that is India, and the other is China, which is talking about another intrusion, another aggression on a neighbor's territory. That is the difference really, ladies and gentlemen, between India and China. Gaurav, stay with me. We've got some more breaking news on the India-China standoff coming in right now, exclusive to India today. This is the breaking news coming in. With the India-China military standoff near Sikkim nearing the 2-month mark in just a few days from now, India's maturity and resilience against a belligerent, vicious China is now being strengthened with some major muscle flexing, and we've got some big breaking news here on India Today. With an uninterrupted campaign of warmongering from China, close to 2 months now, and China's government aggressively amplifying the suggestion of war and military conflict with India, the Modi government, so far silent, has decided to flex some military muscle and ensure the Indian forces are absolutely war ready no matter what. India Today has learned that the Defence Ministry under Arun Jaitley has sought an absolutely urgent release of at least 20,000 crore rupees to procure weapons and ammunition on an emergency basis, all in an effort, it is believed, to bolster readiness on the border with China. It is well known that the army is in desperate need of artillery guns, infantry weapons, light helicopters, night fighting capabilities and border fortifications. While the Indian Air Force needs fighters, it needs drones, it needs refueling aircraft. The Indian Navy also needs material for its own oceanic fight against a marauding Chinese Navy. The images on your screen that are being broadcast aggressively by China each day is a reminder to India that China in many ways has greater access to military assets than India does. Well, India is hitting back. Gaurav Sabit is still with us. Gaurav, there may be a discrepancy as far as military strength is concerned, but India has an advantage in the area, certainly. But the Modi government, it appears, is taking no chances. We have to be war ready. That's the big message here.
Spot on, Shiv. And when we talk of, emergency purchases, as you know better, Shiv, when you need a piece of defense equipment, you cannot buy it off the shelf. whether it's weapons, whether it's ammunition, whether it's other warlike stores, you have to place an order. At most, what you can do is cut short the entire chain of command when you go in for procurement. And that is what India intends to do with the emergency purchases. You'd recall in the Kargil conflict, Shiv,
yes,
emergency purchases had to be made in terms of ammunition, and that is where aircraft flew into several countries, and some stocks had to be brought off the shelf from their army reserves, were used. This time, India wants to stock up in advance, and this is where these emergency funds are expected to be utilized. Then again, it's not as if, today funds get sanctioned and tomorrow equipment will start coming in. But a lot of it is also, you sign an order, you start getting equipment, you continue to pay over a period of time,
yes,
and then your equipment comes over the next several years.
Absolutely. Gaurav, stay with me. We also have with us on the phone line General Deepak Kapoor, former Chief of the Army Staff. General Kapoor, good evening to you. Thank you for being with us. Always a privilege to speak to you, sir. Your assessment of this uninterrupted campaign of threats and mind games that's been emanating from China, sir, with a foreign ministry official now, General Kapoor, threatening to create another intrusion similar to what's happening in Doklam in another area. They're talking about Kalapani, Uttarakhand, Kashmir. Now China is saying, you've done this to us, we're going to do it back to you, and then what will you do? General Kapoor, your response.
Good evening, Shiv. Pleasure talking to you.
Yes.
But let me say this, the Chinese are following a very well laid down dictum of their old scholar Sun Tzu to say winning battles without firing a bullet. So if you see it from that perspective, it is part of a psychological warfare which has been on as far as Doklam is concerned, and perhaps is now planned to be extended towards the central sector as well as the northern sector.
Yes.
But having said that, we need to be prepared for any such contingency. I heard you talking about emergency purchases. While you're right, these are required, but we should actually have done this much earlier so that we are better prepared as of the moment. Notwithstanding that, just as well that this step is coming, but we do need to be fully prepared in all these sectors for any kind of a threat. If you look at it from a conceptual viewpoint, it would mean enlarging the area of conflict, leaving not only at Doklam, but
yes,
going on to the central sector and also to the northern sector. Then it becomes a much bigger canvas as compared to just the Doklam sector.
General Kapoor, we know this is a very sensitive issue right now, and we would never want to reveal any sensitive issues in terms of operational details. There are some channels doing that. But as a former army chief, what would you like to tell the lay person, the Indian citizen, about how the army deals with a situation like this, how it simulates for the various possible eventualities? Because to the Indian public right now, General Kapoor, the tone and tonality coming out from China is only war, war, war.
Let me put it frankly, on ground, the Indian army is fully prepared to deal with eventualities like this, but I would also say that they are not trigger happy, nor do they get down to firing at each other. In fact, on both sides, there is a degree of restraint which is actually exercised when it comes to a face-to-face confrontation. And both sides are conscious of the fact that any bullet, even fired accidentally, can lead to further escalation, which is not what is wanted, I think, by either side. And that includes China as well.
General Deepak Kapoor, thank you so much for speaking to us.